Today, Sabre's advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions lets you create personalized offers, optimize choice, and maximize revenue opportunities. We're also delivering personalized NDC-enabled offers and orders, and our modular, scalable, API-based microservices help you connect travelers to the experiences they seek. But that's just the start. We know you and your customers need more. That's why we're building the travel marketplace of the future to truly open up a world of possibilities. So let's go. The future is open. Are you ready? What's our vision for the future of travel retail? We think it's wide open. Open for business today with the tech you need for tomorrow. Breaking free of legacy systems and opening the door to offers and orders that enable you to build retailing experiences your way. Today, Sabre's advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions lets you create personalized offers, optimize choice, and maximize opportunities. We're also delivering personalized NDC-enabled offers and orders, and our modular, scalable, API-based microservices help you connect travelers to the experiences they seek. But that's just the start. We know you and your customers need more. That's why we're building the travel marketplace of the future to truly open up a world of possibilities. So let's go. The future is open. Are you ready? What's our vision for the future of travel retail? We think it's wide open. Open for business today with the tech you need for tomorrow. Breaking free of legacy systems and opening the door to offers and orders that enable you to build retailing experiences your way. Today, Sabre's advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions lets you create personalized offers, optimize choice, and maximize revenue opportunities. We're also delivering personalized NDC-enabled offers and orders, and our modular, scalable, API-based microservices help you connect travelers to the experiences they seek. But that's just the start. We know you and your customers need more. That's why we're building the travel marketplace of the future to truly open up a world of possibilities. So let's go. The future is open. Are you ready? What's our vision for the future of travel retail? We think it's wide open. Open for business today with the tech you need for tomorrow.
When you travel beyond the standard of NDC, the possibilities are limitless, which is why you need a complete view of the landscape. Every flight, add-on, every option. With Sabre, it's a view you can only get with Sabre Red 360, your ticket to NDC offers. To get started, use the air shopping path, and then add the journey details to access a world of content in one easy-to-follow display. Our air shopping path is fully API enabled, so it pulls from multiple sources of information at once, including traditional low-cost carrier and NDC offers. And it's all presented in a single display for efficient comparison shopping. With Sabre Red 360, availability and fares appear in a familiar workflow while clearly depicting the content source. In this case, it is an NDC offer. Open the panel to see more information about the flight. Then click Select to offer more specific details. Details such as the offer time limit, taxes, fees, and baggage information come straight from the supplier. After adding the traveler data, click to create the order. The order request is then sent to the airline. Once accepted, you'll receive a confirmation with a unique order ID, which is displayed on the header of the graphical PNR. Here, you'll see the Sabre passenger number record, or PNR, airline locator, and order ID, as well as the itinerary, ticketing time limit, pricing information. For fulfillment, use the workflow menu and click Fulfill Order. Add the payment information to secure the order before the order expires. You'll receive a confirmation response on stating the order has been successfully fulfilled. But what happens if plans change after order fulfillment? No problem. Refunds are easy to process with a user-friendly workflow menu. Simply access the relevant booking, open the Cancel Ticket workflow, and follow the on-screen instructions to refund the order. That's it, just a few simple steps. You will expand content access, enhance productivity, and add profitability to your bottom line, while delivering the exact experience your travelers want every time. Get your ticket to booking NDC offers today. Explore beyond the NDC standards at sabre.com/NDC.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? It's a pleasure to have you on the call this morning. And my name is Damilola, and I'll be moderating today's quick dive training session. And as it's been communicated, the quick dive session will be on the Sabre 360, and today's session will be on basic reservation. So a warm welcome to you, to everyone who has joined this call, especially those who joined promptly. That's a joke, by the way. So whether you are new to the system or you are looking for, or you have just joined because you want to refresh your memory on the Sabre 360, this session is designed to equip you with the essential skills for utilizing Sabre 360 call reservation functionalities. So once again, I would say welcome. And these are the things we'll be taking you through today. Modes of accessing Sabre URLs, signing into Sabre platform. We'll navigate you through the Sabre interface. We'll take you through the action codes on Sabre, mandatory fields of a PNL. That's why creating a PNL, what the mandatory fields are, as well as some optional fields. And thank you very much for joining early.
Thank you, Damilola. Good morning to you, and thank you for um, all you do. Thank you once again, everybody, for joining this call. We are so glad to have you in today's training. And like Damilola rightly said the other time, that we'll just be diving into um, the basic reservations training for this week, and that's just what we're going to do. We have several other trainings for you in stock, and we'll unveil them as the time goes by. So for today, like we said, we are going to be diving into Sabre basic reservations training and just using the cryptic format alone. Welcome once again. All right, to kickstart the training proper, I would like to introduce some things to us. Some of us are joining for the first time. Some of us have been using the system for a long time, and we might just be doing a refresher. And for those that are joining for the first time who are new to um, the use of Sabre platform, this is a very good opportunity for you to learn once again. All right, so first of all, we'll be talking about the mode of accessing Sabre platform. Now, we can access Sabre platform in two ways. The first one is the desktop application, while the other one is the web application. All right, using the desktop application, it entails logging into a particular website that will drop on the chat panel a link for you to access and download the APK file. Then there will be an installation afterwards, and necessary credentials will be used to log in into the Sabre desktop application. While using the web application, the only thing we have to do is just to access a particular web link and start working immediately. There is no need for installations. It's a lighter version of the desktop application. That's just the main and major difference between the two modes of accessing the Sabre platform. All right, so the Sabre URL, there are two types. There is a training mode and there is a live mode. When you want to access the training mode, the link is as typed on the screen. We also drop it on the chat panel. We might not be making use of this right away because we need the training IDs to access it. So whatsoever that is done on the training mode cannot be guaranteed. Your first cannot be guaranteed because they are not live. They are just meant for training yourself on how to use the Sabre GDS alone. All right. While the live mode URL is as printed on the screen as well, we have Sierra Romeo Whiskey.sabre.com. The difference between the two is the SAT. So the training mode has a SAT while the live mode does not have the SAT. Okay. Yeah. Um, After entering the URLs, after entering the links, and you want to start logging in, this screen we have right here on our screen will be displayed. What we have here will be displayed, and you can see that we have a space for ID, agent ID. That could be four figures. For an example, here I have 1001. Depending on how many IDs you have in your agency location, yours might be different. You can have about um, 3, 4, 5 IDs, different IDs. You could have 1001 or 1002 or 1003. And for those who have numerous IDs, you could have 1011, 102, and so on. That there could be as much as possible IDs created depending on usage. Then again, we have the password. And the password is usually 7 or 8 characters. You can't have less than 7 characters, and you cannot have more than 8 characters for ID creation. So it's a combination of alphabets and numbers. That is, you can mix up your alphabets with numbers to form or generate your passwords. Dictionary words are not permitted using, say, on Sabre passwords. You can't use a proper name. They will not be permitted. So to generate a good ID, we advise that you could mix up your alphabets with numbers, and it has to be either 7 or 8 characters. It cannot be less than 7, and it cannot be more than 8 characters. Then the PCC, pseudo city code, is a unique uh, character set of numbers or number and figures that number and alphabet, pardon me, numbers, figures, and alphabet. It is a unique. Each agency has their own unique PCCs. Two agencies cannot have the same PCC, so that's uh, PCC for you. So to sign in into the Sabre platform, either on the desktop application or using the web application, you need these three credentials to log in: the ID, the password, and the PCC. All right, the other one that we'll be talking about probably sometimes later is the line address. Line address is also unique to each ID. Every ID on a PCC has its own unique line address. If peradventure two IDs are sharing the same line address, that means that the both of them cannot simultaneously work at the same time, as in the two IDs cannot be logged in at the same time. So one has to be on while the other is not active. If the two IDs try to log in at the same time using the same line address, there will be conflict, and that will result to um, one logging out the other. All right, so we can always contact the help desk for more information about all of these credentials that we have talked about. Yeah, moving on, I would like to show us the Sabre interface. We have a lot of features that we cannot exhaust in today's training. There are so many things that are, are embedded in Sabre interface, and honestly, they are very rich content that we cannot even overemphasize. We cannot finish exhausting them. All right, so briefly, I would like to make us understand that this space, the white space we have here, that there's a default text of type command here. That is where we type our commands, our formats. That's where we type, and then we press enter to activate them. Then we see that we have work areas, about 6 of them, and they are lettered A, B, C, D, E, and F. So we can always switch in between any work areas at any point in time to make use of them. All right. Then again, we have PF keys, and we have a button also that we can use to switch in between the graphics and the cryptic methods. All right. So not to waste so much time because we still need to do hands-on. We'll not be spending so much time explaining all the other features. And before I go, I would always I would want to show us that by the on the right hand side, we can see where we have encode and decode, format finder, and scripts. Yeah, those are great features as well that we can access, especially using the desktop application. Some of these features are not embedded in the web applications because we try as much as possible to make the web application lighter so that it can load on time and process our information on time. Yeah. I would like to take us through the action codes that we make use of in Sabre. The major thing we want to achieve today, like we said from the beginning of this class, is that we want to train us on how to create a simple PNR, just basic PNR creation. And we might be using some of these action codes in the course of this training. So I would like to take us through some of the action codes we make use of in Sabre. Figure 1 is the first action code I'll talk about, and this is used to display city pair availability. Figure 3 is used to send messages to non-American airlines only, while Figure 4 is used to send messages to American airlines alone. And I mean American airline, AA, talking about AA, not Delta and the other ones. Figure 5 is used to send remarks. Figure 6, like we see on the screen, is it says received from. That's talking about reference. When you create or generate a PNL or reservation and you want to reference, just to tell the system that you mentioning your name are the creator of that particular PNL. That's the use of received from. And figure 7 and 8, they refer to ticket time limit. We could either use 7 or use 8. We may not be using the two together at the same time. Um, Figure 9 is used to impute phone number, the agency's phone number. And figure 0 is used to sell. You know, so many people confuse selling on aviation to when we take goods to the market to sell. So they might not be meaning the same thing exactly. So when we mention sell, here we are trying to say that you have displayed availability and you see a particular class of service that you want to actually pay for. You want to book it. You want to reserve it. That's what we refer to as sell. All right. So going to the next one, we have iPhone. A lot of people call it minus, but the actual word is hyphen, and that is used to enter the name field. Then the next one is asterisk, and that is used to display. The next one we have there is cross of Norine, which is used to combine related formats. And also we have change key or delete key to modify or effect changes in the Sabre PNLs that we create. We have string key as well, and that could be used to combine different formats together. And also we'll talk about escape key. That's used to reset our cursor to the start of the message. Like we rightly said from the beginning again, that the major essence of today's class is to create a simple PNL, just to create a very simple PNL. And to do that, there are 5 mandatory fields that we need to fulfill. Those fields are uh, they are a must for us to fulfill. If any one of the fields is missing, then we may not be able to completely reserve a seat for our clients on the airline of our choice. So the 5 mandatory fields have an acronym which says PRINT. That's just to memorize or refer to the 5 mandatory fields anyway. So each of those words stand for something, and I would explain and we'll try out every one of those 5 mandatory fields. The first one is Papa, P, and that stands for phone field. Now, if you are familiar with programming to a little extent, you will understand that there are always action words. There are always some basic principles to pass a message to the receiving end. Now, the essence of using these um, prefixes that are in front of these mandatory fields, like we have here 9 in front of phone field, is that whenever the airline system sees 9 and a set of number which follows it, then the airline system would pick those set of numbers as the phone field of the agency. I mean the agency doing the reservation. So um, each of those fields have prefixes, and those prefixes are the action codes that actually passes those information to the airline system. And the airline system will definitely understand what is being referred to. So for an example, I'm still going to show you how to use every one of those fields, but I just want to quickly dive into the example of what I mentioned now, that if you have figure 9 and a set of number following that figure 9, then the airline would pick those set of numbers as the phone field of that agency. All right, so the next one we have here is Romeo, which stands for received from field. I mentioned the other time that received from field, we could also refer to it as reference. For an example, you prepare a document, you write a letter, and you sign at the end of the letter that this letter was acknowledged or prepared by you. So that's just in simple terms what we refer to as received from field. Romeo in the print stands for received from field, and the acronym, or sorry, excuse me, and the prefix for received from field is figure 6. Just like we have figure 9 for phone field, for received from field, we have figure 6 as the prefix. The next one we have here is India, which stands for itinerary field. Now, this is where the bulk of the job is. There are two things involved in itinerary field. The first one is availability display, and the other one is sell. I explained what sell is the other time. Now, availability display and sell, they both have their own prefixes as well. For availability display, the prefix is figure 1, and for sell, the prefix is figure 0, just like we have on the screen here, 1 and 0. They are embedded in itinerary field. The next one we have is name field. Name field, the prefix for name field is hyphen. That is, if we want to enter passenger's name on our PNR that we are creating, the first thing we'll do is type hyphen before the names and the rest of the format. All right, so the next one we have here is ticket time limit. That's the tango and the last mandatory field. So ticket time limit, the prefix for ticket time limit is 7, either 7 or 8, as mentioned earlier. All right, so to go over the 5 mandatory fields, once again, we have Papa, Romeo, India, Nancy, and Tango. That is sprint. That will make us remember on time. And we've mentioned the prefixes that we have to do before going on to each of the items. To start with, the phone field. Now, I'll be showing us how the formats are and examples before we go and try them hands-on. All right, so the first thing I'll be mentioning is the phone field. I briefly explained the other time that the format for phone field is 9 followed by the phone number. 9 is the prefix, it's constant. There is no change to it. The phone number can change, but 9, when we go over the format for phone field, the first thing we do is the prefix, which is 9. 9 followed by the phone number. There is no space in between them, just like we have in the example below, 908140609409. That's the phone field format. There is no space in between them, 9 followed by the phone field. That's the format, and that's all about phone field. The next one we'll be talking about is the receipt from field that I called the reference. When you want to reference your um, PNR, when you want to reference your reservation, what you do is the action code, which is 6, followed by the name of the reservation officer, not the passenger's name here, the name of the reservation officer. So we have 6 followed by the reservation officer's name. So an example we have here is 6 Joshua. 6 is the action code and Joshua is the reservation officer's name. That's all about receipt from field or um, um, referencing. Yeah, the next one we'll be talking about is where the major job is, and that's the itinerary field. We rightly explained the other time that itinerary field is splitted into um, two modes, and the first one is availability display, and the second is sell. Now, we have action codes for each and every one of them. So availability displays action code is 1. That is, anytime we want to display availability, what we'll do first is figure 1 before the rest of the format. And anytime we want to sell, anytime we want to select a particular class and book it, the action code is figure 0. Please don't mix it up. There's a difference between the alphabet O and figure 0, alphabet Oscar and figure 0. Here we are talking about figure 0, not the alphabet. So don't forget to display availability, the action code is figure 1, and to sell, the action code is 0. Yeah, we'll be taking on example for availability display now. The format to display availability is as follows. 1, which is the action code, followed by the date, followed by city pair. And city pair means the origin of the journey and the destination, right? So we have availability displayed to be 1, date, origin, destination. There is no space in between them. There is no bracket. The brackets we have here is just to demarcate what we've written down. So for proper understanding, there is no bracket and there is no space. There are no spaces in between the formats we have here. So see an example just below the screen. We have 1/23 December, LOS LHR. LOS is the IATA code for Lagos, and LHR is the IATA code for London Heathrow. All right, so we have 1, the action code, the date, which is 23 December, and LOS LHR. That is, we want to display availability for the 23rd of December from Lagos to London. That is what that simply means. And the second example I'll be showing us on availability display is a bit different from the first one. We can all see the difference already, that after the format, there is a symbol and we have airline. And what this does is just to specify a particular airline. So we have 1, date, origin, destination. The symbol is called Cross of Lorraine. We mentioned it when we were introducing the action codes the other time, that it's used to combine formats. All right, so we have 1, date, origin, destination, the Cross of Lorraine, and airline. That cross of line can be gotten where the location on the keyboard is the key before the enter key. If you are on the Sabre system, logged on or logged into the Sabre system, be it the desktop application or the web application, once you are there, the keyboard, if you're using an American keyboard or a British keyboard, it's the same. But if you are using a Chinese keyboard or Japanese or other keyboards, Russian, it might be slightly different. You might need to use function keys to search for where that symbol is. But the general keyboards we make use of in this part of the world, it's usually before the enter key, the key with single and double quotation. That is where we can get the cross of Lorraine from. All right, so back to what we are mentioning, that we have one date, origin, destination, cross of Lorraine, and the code for the airline we are referring to. So for an example, we have here on the screen, we have 23rd of December, Lagos, London, Cross of Lorraine, display for only British Airways. British Airways is BA. So we want to display just for British Airways alone in this example that we have here. All right. The next thing after displaying the availability is sell. The next thing we do is to sell. We've explained what sell is the other time. Now, the format to sell, going back to where we talked about itinerary, we said itinerary is split into two parts. The first one is availability display, and the second one is sell. And the prefix for availability display is figure 1, and the prefix for sell is figure 0. All right, so the format to sell is 0, which is constant, followed by the number of seats we are selling, followed by the class of service, which is the cabin, either economy, premium, business class, or first class, depending on the choice of our customer that we are selling for. All right, so let me go over it again. 0, which is the action word, number of seats we are selling, class of service we are selling from, and the segment line number that we are selling from. Yeah. Then we have an example here. Um, Talking about the segment line number, when we displayed availability, we could have several lines to sell from. We could have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So the particular line we are selling from is what we refer to as segment line number here in the cell format. So we have 0, number of seats, class of service, segment line number. Yeah. Below on the screen is an example of the cell format, which is 0, 1, that is we are selling one seat, just one seat. Then we have Yankee there, which signifies the class of service. And this example is selling from line 2. I hope that is clear enough. All right, so going on, we have another cell format, a different example from the one we just explained. Now, this, from just staring at it alone, we can see the difference that this carries an asterisk at the end. The same format, but there is an asterisk at the end of this format. And what this does is telling us that it is not a direct flight we are selling. The first example is used to sell a direct flight or just to sell a single line on the segment line number. But whenever we have a connecting flight, for an example, a passenger is flying from Lagos to Dubai using Kenya Airways. We are sure that the flight will go from Lagos to Nairobi, then from Nairobi to Dubai. So that's a connecting flight. Those definitely will be having two lines to sell from. So we'll sell the first line and put an asterisk. That asterisk will combine all the connections. Even if we have about 3, 4, 5 connections that have to go together, if that is possible, then um, using an asterisk will make it work out easily. All right, so um, Okay, we want to quickly confirm if you can all still hear us and see the screen. If you can do so, if you can see the screen and still hear me, kindly engage the chat panel and just send the response that yes, you can hear and you can see what we are displaying on the screen. Okay, we can see a feedback that somebody is not hearing us, but if so, probably it's a network glitch and you can try reconnect again. All right, so let's continue with the class. Um, the next thing I would like to talk about is the pricing. You know, after you have displayed your availability and you have sold a particular class of service, the next thing to do is to price. And the basic format to price is the first one we have here, which says Whiskey Papa. That's WP. Whiskey Papa will price the current itinerary you have. If you have sold on Yankee class, for an example, and you do Whiskey Papa will only price that itinerary, that class of service you have sold, which is Yankee. It will not price any other class for you. Then if you go ahead to do Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie, that will price the lowest available class on that airline that you have sold from. It will only show you the fare. It will not rebook it for you. Unlike Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie Bravo, which will reprice to the lowest class available and rebook it for you. So for an example, if you had sold on Yankee class and there is a Nancy class that is cheaper, I'm just citing that for an example, and there is Nancy class that is cheaper than that Yankee class you sold previously, when you do Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie Bravo, it will change the booking class for you because there is a lower class and available. It has to be available before Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie Bravo does its job for you. So it will price it and rebook whatsoever you had booked previously to the cheapest available. Then if you do Whiskey Papa Nancy India, this will compare new itinerary. What this means is that it will search through the airline systems, look for other airlines, even if it is the same airline but different device. It will look for a lower fare. If there's anything lower than what you had previously booked in the airline you booked before, then it will search and give you options. Then you can sell from the new options it displays. You will not be really diving into such today because here we are just going to create a simple itinerary. All right, just to bring to notice for the benefit of those who are a bit new to the industry and are not so familiar with the age categories we have in the aviation industry. Now, when we have passengers from ages 0 to less than 2, the passenger is not yet 2 years old, then that passenger is regarded as an infant, and a seat under normal circumstance, a seat will not be allocated to an infant. An infant has to be attached to an adult passenger. All right, so when we have from age 2 to less than 12, that is, the passenger is already 2 years old, but not up to 12 years old. That passenger is regarded as a child passenger and will definitely be given a seat on the airline. And the third category is when we have a passenger who is 12 years old and above. That passenger is regarded as an adult passenger and definitely will be awarded a seat, will be given a seat on the airline. All right, so that's all about the age group. Now, talking about if there is a return leg for the reservation we are making, if there is a return leg, the return has to be displayed and sold before you fare. The return has to be displayed and sold. That is, you display availability for return you sell for the return before you price. A lot of people make mistakes trying to display availability for going, then they sell, they price, they now display availability for return, they sell and price again. That is very wrong, and it can always attract ADM from the airline. So please don't make such mistakes again. And if you are doing it purposely, please kindly desist from doing such because it's not proper and the airlines frown at that. So please, I'll repeat it again. When you want to create a simple itinerary or any itinerary at all, display all your legs, sell them before you price. That is, if there's going to be a return leg, complete all the itinerary before you price. All right. So let me quickly show us on how to display for return, how to do return. The first format, I have about 3 formats to show us, 3 different formats. All right, the first format I'll be talking about is just like the one we used earlier, where we have figure one, that is figure one is constant. Then the date, the return date, we have the origin and destination. Mind you, the origin and destination has changed this time around. Before we had Lagos to London, this time around we are having London back to Lagos. All right, so this first format can be used, probably we want to make use of other airlines, we want to change airlines, or we want to display for round trip, or we want to display for multi-city. That's another specific usage of this particular format. For an example, your passenger is going from Lagos to Dubai, from Dubai to London, then from London back to Lagos. That is not just a simple return. It has the itineraries touching different cities, more than 2 cities. So that could be regarded as a multi-city trip. And such example, we could use this type of formats to display availability and sell. That is for the example for the scenario I just painted, where we have Lagos to Dubai, from Dubai to London, then from London back to Lagos. We could display availability like this we have on the first format, format 1, to display and sell for each of those legs. Then for the second format, we could see in front of it that you have a specific travel date, a return date. For an example, you have a working passenger who says, I'm going from Lagos to London on the 1st of January and I'm returning on the 15th of February. So that's a direct date. You have a particular date of return. So you could use the first format to display it anyway, but there's a shorter format, which is the format 2 we have here, where you could simply do figure 1, return, that's Romeo, then the date of return, which is 15th February. So you could just have 1 Romeo 15th February to display the return date, and then you sell from that return date you have displayed. All right, the third format I'll be talking about here is saying that there is a specific number of days the passenger wants to spend at their location they are traveling to. That is, they might not have checked the calendar to set out the proper date. You understand? But they can just say that probably it's a working passenger or passenger who calls your agency line or sends a mail to you and just says, I want to spend 2 weeks at my location where I'm traveling to. I just want to spend 2 weeks. That is, 2 weeks is regarded as 14 days if you want to break it down into number of days. So you could simply do 1 return cross of Lorraine 14. That way, the system will automatically calculate 14 days for you and give you the appropriate date. So you may not necessarily need to open the calendar and start searching and counting one after the other the number of days, and which you can even make mistakes when you count that. But the system will automatically give you the correct date of return when you make use of this third format. And as well, you can always use the first format as well to display such requests. So those are just the 3 return formats that I'll be showing us in this class. All right, so let's talk about names format. and I would need your proper concentration because the airline frowns at name change and those errors we commit regularly on names. So let us try as much as possible to pay more attention. All right, so for adult name, for child name and infant name, there may be little differences in entering those formats. So I'll start with the adult name format now and show us how to do adult name. All right, like we learned from action codes that when we want to do name, the action code for name is hyphen, that minus sign, hyphen or dash. Some people call it dash or minus, but we can call it hyphen. All right, so hyphen is the first thing to do when you want to do an adult name. So after hyphen, the next thing is the surname of that passenger. So we have hyphen, surname, then a forward slash follows. Hyphen, surname, forward slash. The next thing is first name. First name. Then there is a single space, just one space. You tap the space bar once before we enter the other name. All right, so let me say the format again. Hyphen, surname, a forward slash, first name, a single space, and other name. That is how to do a proper adult name format on the Sabre GDS. I'll go over it again. Hyphen, surname, forward slash, first name, space, other name. Please don't use double space. Make sure it's just a single space you make use of. We can see an example just below the screen where we have um, an adult name, and that's hyphen Odewole slash Joshua, a space, Oluwatosin. That's just a very simple adult name format we have on the screen there. All right, so going forward, let's talk about child name. Now, this is a bit different from adult name, although the name format, the name entry is the same, but there are other things we need to do when we enter child name. We need to send a message to the airline system informing them that this particular passenger is a child. And also, we need to send a message to the Sabre system informing the Sabre system that you have entered a child name here. All right. So the first thing to do when you want to enter the child name is the name, the surname, the first name, and the other name. Now, just like the adult name, it is the same thing. We have hyphen surname slash first name, then a space, other name. That's the proper way to enter the name of a child. Hyphen surname slash first name space, other name. That's the proper way. Then a message to the airline. We said um, first from the first instance that we could send a message to airlines, either general airlines, as in the other airlines, or American airline. Now, to send a message to American airline, we use 4. We make use of action code 4. But when we want to send to other airlines, we make use of action code 3. So don't forget, I said there are 3 things to do when you want to do a child name. The first one is the name, the second is the message to the airline, and the third is the message to the Sabre system. All right, so we've talked about the name. The name is just like the normal adult name. We do that. Then after that, we do a message to the airline. For an example, if we are doing a message to other airlines other than American airline, then we can do the following, which is 3 Charlie Hotel Lima Delta, that's child. The airline understand that to be child. So we do 3, that is the action code, Charlie Hotel Lima Delta, then hyphen, then here I have 2.1. What that refers to is the line number of the passenger's name. So for an example, if I had entered on this PNR I'm creating, I'd enter an adult name first. That adult name will take the line number 1.1. Then if I'm entering another name, which is a child name, that will definitely take line number 2.1. So citing that as an example, let's say we've entered a name before, which is the adult name, and we are here doing the child name, then definitely the adult name would have carried line number 1.1, and the child name will be carrying line number 2.1. I hope that is clear enough. All right, so the third thing to do, oh, before I say that, then if it's a message to the airline, to American airline, I almost forgot that. If it's a message to the American airline, the same format, but the only thing that will be changing is the action code, which will be 4. To other airlines is 3. To American airline, 4. All right. So the message to the Sabre system when we are doing child name format is Papa Delta Tango, Charlie Nancy Nancy. That is, you are telling Sabre system that the passenger data type is a child. And also iPhone 2.1. 2.1 is the name line number of that child on the airline. So to do a proper child name, 3 things to be done: the name, a message to the airline, and a message to Sabre system. And those are the examples we have cited. All right, so going on to infant name format. There are just 2 things to be done when we do infant name format. Only 2 steps. Don't forget, when we did adult name, just a line. But child name was different. We did 3 lines. And infant name is also different. We'll be doing 2 lines, just 2 lines. All right, so the first thing to do when we want to enter the infant name is just like the other names, hyphen. Hyphen is the action code to do names. Hyphen. Then the next thing after hyphen is India. That signifies or sends a message to the Sabre system that this is a child. So hyphen India, a / surname, another / the first name, then a space, the other name. I'll take that again. Hyphen India, a / the surname, another / the first name, a single space, the other name. That's the first thing to do when we enter an infant name. Then the second thing to do when we enter an infant name is a message to the airline. How do we do that? We have it. We have an example of it on the screen. We have 3 when we are sending a message to other airlines other than American airline. 3 INFT, that stands for infant. 3 India Nancy Father Tango / surname / first name space other name, then another / the date of birth of that infant, and the date of birth is in a format of 232. That is 2 for number of days, 3 for the month, and 2 for the year. Then we have hyphen after that, then adult passenger line number. Now, we said the other time that an infant, who is an infant age 0 to less than 2, does not have a seat on the airline in under normal circumstance. An infant does not have a seat on the airline. So an infant has to be attached to an adult passenger. All right, so we have explained the format of how to enter the infant name, and we'll be attaching that infant to the adult passenger. All right, so for an example, we entered an adult name first, we entered the child name second, and the infant name as a third name. The first name would definitely carry line number 1.1, the second would carry 2.1, and this third will carry 3.1. But when we are attaching the infant, after the date of birth, we have hyphen the next number that will follow the hyphen will definitely be 1.1 because 1.1 is the adult passenger that we have on this airline, on this reservation, excuse me. All right. Okay, so next I have an example of how an infant's name would be. So we have we have two steps. Don't forget that we have two steps to take when we enter an infant's name. The first one is the name proper, and the second one is a message to the airline system. All right, so for an example, we have here hyphen India, the surname, the first name, and the other name. Then the second thing we did or we are doing is the message to the airline system, which is 3 INFT, 3 India Nancy Father Tango, then slash the names proper, like we entered them before, then slash the date of birth. Now, I mentioned this the other time that the date of birth format has to be 232. That is the first two number for the day. If it is on the 1st of September, that will be 01 September. If it, like the example we have here, 20 September, that's 20 September. Then the year, this year we see here on the screen is referring to 2023. That's 23. So we have 20 Sugar Echo Papa for September, then 23. No spaces in between all of them. All right. So, and we have hyphen, then the adult passenger name line number. That's 1.1. And that's all for the name field. But before I move on to the next one, I would like to mention that name field can be a maximum of 29 characters, including the spaces and the slashes we mentioned. So be mindful that when you enter a name that is greater or more than 29 characters, there might be issues when you want to issue or ticket that itinerary. So instead of using the other name, if the name will be definitely more than 29 characters, you can simply use the initial of the last of the other name. So for an example, you have surname, you have first name, and initial of the other name. So that could save you the stress of encountering issues when you want to ticket that PNR. All right, so going forward, let's talk about ticket time limit. Ticket time limit. Now, we understand that ticket time limit refers to the time we have until the reservation is being issued. It's something to create a PNR, and it's another thing to get it ticketed. It is until it is ticketed, it is valid for travel. You cannot travel with just an ordinary reservation. It has to be ticketed before you travel with it. All right, um, so ticket time limit is talking about that particular date and time you have until the reservation is being either cancelled or ticketed. For if you have questions and further things to know, you can always reach the help desk or drop your questions on the chat panel so that we can respond to them and bring you on point. Okay, so the format to enter the ticket time limit is as follows. If you remember that I mentioned in the first instance that we could have two types of ticket time limits. You could have 7 or 8. So I'll be talking about the two formats here. The first one we have here is 8. And the format says 8, which is constant, time slash date. 8, constant, it's constant. That's a prefix to do ticket time limit. The time, you want your reservation cancelled if it is not ticketed. Then slash the date you want it cancelled if it is not ticketed. Then mind you, the ticket time limit has to be before the travel date. It has to be before the travel date. For an example, we want to travel, just an example, we want to travel on the 20th of June. Your ticket time limit has to be before that date. it has to be before the 20th of June. So just try create a limit that is not so far from the booking date. That would work out. There are some instances that the system might reject some particular date you put. Probably the date is very much close to the or the time of flight. The date is or time is close to the time of flight. So the system might not accept it and may want you to change to an earlier date before the time of travel. So we have to take note of that. And one simple thing and good thing about Sabre system is that if there is an error, it will explicitly show you what the error is so you can make modifications and correct yourself before you end your PNL. All right, so the format for ticket time limit using the first kind of format is what I just explained, 8time/date. Now we have an example, we have two examples, which definitely means the same thing. The first one says 8/1600/12 October. That's just an example. Now 1600 and the second example where we have 4P, they are the same timing. 1600 refers to 4 p.m. 1600 is a 24 hours date format, and 4P is the 12 hours date format. And it's 4 p.m. actually, but we'll be skipping the mic, we'll be skipping the M in front of it. So it's going to be 4P. All right, so please, it's very simple to do. 1600/12 October or 8/4P/12 October. That's for the ticket time limits format using the 8 kind of it. Now, to use the 7 kind of it, what it means is that you are instructing the airline system that you don't want to cancel this ticket. You don't want the airline system to automatically cancel this reservation. You want to ticket at will. That's what it means. Or you want to cancel it at your own time. Unlike when you use the first format, where you are instructing the airline system that at this time, on this day, cancel this reservation because I am not going to be needing it again. That's the instruction using the 8 kind of format. But when you make use of the 7 kind of format, you are instructing the airline system that leave this reservation for me. I want to cancel or I want to issue at will. And definitely that should be before the travel date. And the thing is, regardless all of this, the airline system will give you a particular date and time to cancel or issue. But you must still go ahead to do the ticket time limit. It's one of the mandatory fields to create a PNL. All right, so when we have the 5 mandatory fields complete, the next thing to do is to end and retrieve. The format to end and retrieve is Echo Romeo. It means end and retrieve. Whenever you do end and retrieve on a completed reservation, the system generates a PNR for you. It generates a reservation code for you. And afterwards, you can go ahead to ignore and retrieve. When you ignore and retrieve, the system generates an airline reservation code for you. When you do ER, the first one, end and retrieve, it generates a Sabre reservation code for you. And when you do IR, it generates both Sabre reservation code and the airline reservation code for you. That's how to go about creating an itinerary. All right, so let me quickly do a quick recap of all we've done so far. We had the 5 mandatory fields. The first one, or the acronym for the 5 fields is print. If you remember that, we said PRINT, print. And each of them stands for something, and that's what we've explained so far. The first one stands for phone field, and we said phone field has a format of 9 followed by phone number, no spaces in between them. And the next one is received from field. Received from field format is 6 followed by the reservation officer's name. And the next one is itinerary field. And we mentioned that itinerary field is splitted into 2 parts. We have the availability display and we have sell. The prefix for availability display is 1 and the prefix to sell is 0. Now the format for availability display is 1, date, origin, and destination. Then we had another example which says 1, date, origin, destination, and cross of Lorraine, then a specific airline we want to travel with. 1, date, origin, destination, cross of Lorraine, the airline we want to specifically display. Then the next one we talked about is sell. And the format to sell is 0, the number of seats we are selling, the class of service we are selling from, and the segment line number we are selling from. Then the second example we had for sell is the one with asterisk. And we mentioned that the first one is used to sell a direct flight, and the second one is used to sell a connecting flight. Then the next thing we mentioned was the pricing formats where we had Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie, Whiskey Papa Nancy Charlie Bravo, Whiskey Papa Nancy India. There are still other ones, but in subsequent classes we'll be having after today's training, we'll probably be touching some of them and explain further. All right, so the next thing we talked about again was the age category, where we had from 0 to less than 2 to be an infant who will not have a seat on the airline. Then from age 2 to less than 12 to be a child passenger who would definitely be having a seat. And from age 12 to and above is an adult passenger who will definitely be having a seat as well. And the next thing we talked about is the return formats. We gave us 3 different types of return formats in the and we did examples of them. And the next thing after then we talked about was the names format. And please don't forget that the names has to be 29 characters or less. If there are more than 29 characters, then you can use the other name initial. We've explained that. We talked about that an adult name has just a line. Then the child name has 3 things: the name, a message to the airline, and a message to the Sabre system. Then also an infant name has 2 things: the name and a message to the airline. And as well, we talked about the ticket time limit format where we used 8 and also 7. Then how to end the PNR. And how do we end the PNR? We do ER and IR. When we do ER, it generates Sabre format for us. And when we do IR, it will generate the airline reference for us. So we'll do hands-on and we'll see how all of those things work. So this I'll be using here is a training mode. Okay. So after entering my credentials, it's coming up and it will definitely bring me the work environment where I can practice and do all of those things that we had talked about earlier. Okay, so here we have our work environment where we can quickly practice some of those things we have mentioned earlier. And from the beginning of the class, when I was showing us how the interface looks like, I mentioned that we have several work areas. So you can switch in between different work areas to do different tasks if the work areas are not linked together. Okay, so here we have the cursor blinking. That's where we can type all of our commands, and the space below is where the responses come. Okay, so the good thing about the Sabre format is that you can start with any one of those 5 mandatory fields. You can start with the phone field, you can start with the itinerary, you can start with ticket time limit, you can start with virtually any one of those fields. But let's just arrange it the way we did in our training that we just finished now. All right, so we'll be starting with the phone field. And to do phone field, I am sure we all remember the prefix for phone field, which is 9. I hope the screen is clear enough for us to see. So we have figure 9, followed by the phone number of the agency. Figure 9, followed by the phone number of the agency. Then we hit the enter button, and you will see it marked with a white asterisk in the response. That means that the system has accepted it. And that's all for phone field. It's as simple as that. Figure 9, phone number, no spaces in between them. That's all for the phone field. Then to do the received from field, which we call the reference, all we have to do is type the action code, which is figure 6, and followed by the reservation officer's name. In this case, I'll be using my name, Joshua. So we have figure 6, which is constant, and Joshua, all together, no spaces in between them. That's how to do a proper reference in the Sabre GDS. And it also marks it with a white asterisk, meaning it has accepted it. All right. So the next thing we did or will be doing is the itinerary field. Mind you, don't forget that itinerary field is split into two parts. We have the availability display and the cell. All right, so display availability, we'll be doing a very simple itinerary. The action code to display availability is figure 1, just like we learned earlier, figure 1, followed by the date of travel. So for an example, we'll be using the 20th of June, 1/20 June, origin. Let's say we are traveling from Lagos and we are going to London Heathrow. 1/20 June, Lagos, London Heathrow. This is enough information to display an availability for that date. And this will give us different airlines that are available for that journey. So we have several options to select from. For an example, you could decide to sell on the first segment here showing, which is VS, that's Virgin Atlantic. And the second option showing is British Airways. The third one is Air Maroc, likewise the fourth one. Now, looking at the screen, we have the first option. Let me explain from the first option where my mouse is pointed at. VS, we have VS, we have the flight number, and the next set of things we have are the classes. And the good thing is Sabre system arranges the classes hierarchically. So it starts from the highest class we can have on that particular flight down to the lowest class. Now, each and every one of those classes, you can see either an alphabet or a number in front of them. For an example, the first class here I have is Juliet. The first one here is Juliet. And there is a figure 6 after Juliet. This is signifying that Juliet class has 6 seats left. Let me say that again. Juliet class is having 6 seats left. That is, 3 seats have been booked from it because the capacity of each class has to be 9. Each of the classes, the full capacity of the class is 9 seats. And 3 seats have been booked already from Juliet class, and that's why we're having 6 left. So if you want to sell Juliet class for 7 passengers, that might not be possible on this particular flight because there are just 6 seats left. Pardon. All right, so the next one we have in front of it is Charlie class. And we can see that there's a figure 0 in front of Charlie. That means that the Charlie class has 0 seats to book from. So we may not be able to book or select from Charlie class. The same thing with Delta, India, Zulu. Here, Whiskey has the full capacity. That is, there are 9 seats left on Whiskey class. You can always book 9 seats on that class. And the list goes on and on to the last or lowest class available on this particular flight, which is Tango. And it also says 0. That is, you can't book any seats from Tango as well. All right, so we have the origin, which is Lagos, and the destination, which is London Heathrow. Now, this first segment shows that this is a direct flight. If it is a connecting flight, the connection will show here, before the destination. But this is going directly from Lagos to London, which makes it a direct flight. And we know that Virgin Atlantic definitely is a direct flight from Lagos to London because that's where their hub is. And also British Airways as well. They do a direct flight from Lagos to London. Then looking at the third option we have here, which is Air Maroc, we can see that the airline will first of all stop at its hub. We can always read more about airlines and their hubs, their home countries and their cities and all of that. Okay, so this is traveling from Lagos to Casablanca first, connecting the next line, and that means from Casablanca to London Heathrow. So what this is telling us is that this line 3 and line 4 must be sold together. You cannot simply sell line 3 alone and end your booking. No. That means you are only taking your passenger from Lagos to Casablanca and they are left stranded in Casablanca. But to do a complete job here, you have to sell line 3 and line 4 together. All right, we'll do an example later on to show us how to do that. Okay. All right, so let me go back to the first line where we have Lagos to London on Virgin Atlantic. Okay, so here is showing us the time of departure and the arrival time. And also, it's saying that we have a total of 6 hours, 55 minutes on this flight. Okay, all right, that's on the first option. Let's say we want to go ahead to book that first option, selecting from Yankee class. For this example, we'll be doing just one passenger. So let's say we want to sell one class on Yankee, one seat on Yankee class. How do we go about that? Remember that the prefix to sell is figure 0. And the next thing in the sell format is the number of seats we are selling, which is 1. That's 1 seat. And the next thing to do is to select the class of service. So let's say, for an example, Yankee class is what we are selecting. And the next thing on the format is segment line number. And mind you, we are selling from line 1. So we'll put 1 there and press the enter key. Okay. Yes. Never mind the status of the itinerary I just sold. This is showing unconfirmed. That is, it cannot be sold. Probably it is not available or something, but please be reminded that this is a training session. So all the things you have here might not be so accurate with a live reservation. Okay. All right. So, but to interpret what we have here, we have sold just one segment on Virgin Atlantic, which is we sold Yankee class, and the date of travel is 20th of June, which is a Thursday, from Lagos to London. Although we should have seats sold 1 here, but we are having UC1. UC1 means unconfirmed for the segments we have sold and the departure time and arrival time. All right, so that's just how to display availability and sell. It is very simple and straightforward. We had displayed earlier, we displayed availability for 20th of June from Lagos to London, and we sold the class of service, Yankee class, for 1 passenger on the first segment. So that is how to sell a seat. Okay. All right. So the next thing to do, let's say this is just a one-way travel. The next thing to do after selling your seat, but please mind you, when you sell, your status has to be SS1 or the number of seats you have sold. If you have sold 2 seats, it will be SS2, SS2 or SS1 as the case may be. All right, so let's just continue regardless the status we have here. Okay, so the next thing we'll be doing is we've done the form field, we've done the receipt form field, we've done the itinerary field, that is displayed availability, and we had sold. So let's do the name field before we do the ticket time limit field. So let's say we definitely we sold 1 seat for just 1 seat. So we'll be entering just 1 name. here. Okay, the name format, like we learned the other time, we are starting with hyphen. Hyphen is the first thing to do when we want to enter a name format. And the next thing is the surname. Let me use my name for an example. Odewale is my surname. So hyphen Odewale, then a forward slash, the first name, a single space, and the other name. This is an appropriate adult name on the Sabre GDS. Hyphen, the surname, a forward slash, the first name, a space, and the other name. Then we hit the enter button, and the system responds by marking it with a white asterisk, just like we have below our screen here. So that has been accepted. And the next thing to do afterward is the ticket time limit. Okay, so let's make use of the 8th type of ticket time limit. 8, let's say I want this reservation cancelled if I'm not going to ticket it before this particular date and time I want to specify. So I want it cancelled. So mind you, the date of travel is 20th of June, is still ahead. So today's date is 14th of March. So let's say I want this ticket cancelled by 4 p.m. slash on the 30th of March. So what I'm instructing the airline system is that on the 30th of March by 4 p.m., kindly cancel this reservation because I will not be issuing the ticket on it again. That's the simple information you have passed to the airline system. And afterwards, you hit the enter key and the system responds by marking it with a white asterisk, meaning it has been accepted. Then after this, the next thing to do is just to end your PNL. And how do you end your PNL? ER. We may have issues ending this PNL because of the status of the itinerary we generated, which is UC. It is not confirmed, so we may not be able to end this PNL. But I would like to show you so that if you are seeing any errors, if you're seeing, if you come across such errors, you would know definitely that something is wrong. After doing ER, it is supposed to end and retrieve my reservation back to me with a reservation code, but it's warning me and telling me that there is to cancel an enabled segment. That is, there's a particular segment that is not accepted, and that's why we are having UC here. That's what the system is pointing at for us. So this might not be able, we may not be able to use, we may not be able to proceed with this particular reservation because of the status of the reservation we are having. All right, so we'll be doing another example after this, and we'll be making use of another airline, and we'll be doing multiple passengers. We won't do just only one passengers. So, but for a good understanding of how to do just a single passenger, and that's what we've done. And I hope we all got the correct way to do a reservation for a single passenger. These are the steps. They are very simple, right from the phone field, the receipt form field, the itinerary field, which has to do with display of availability and sale, then the name field that we did, and the ticket time limit, and we ended it, or we were supposed to end it with ER. Just because of the status, we were not able to end it. All right, so that's it. Let me ignore and clear my screen. To ignore is just India and press enter. Then the system responds with India Gov Delta. That is, it has been ignored. That is, whatsoever I'd done, I'd let it go. I'd ignored it. Okay, so we'll start another reservation now, where I'll be taking us through how to reserve for multiple passengers and selling more than one seat, unlike what we did earlier. Okay, so in this example, we'll be selling, let's use the same date. Let's use the same date, 20th of June. Yeah, 20th of June. Okay, so this time around, I won't be starting with phone field. I want to start with itinerary, because the reason is because if you have a working passenger or somebody calls you on phone or sends a mail and they are waiting for your response to check the fare for a particular reservation they want to make, definitely you won't start with phone field, you won't start with received from or ticket time limit. You would want to create the itinerary first, then price it and give them the price. Okay. There's a feedback. Okay. All right. So to start with, we want to display availability for 20th of June. For 20th of June. Okay. To display availability, what do we do first? Figure 1, the date 20 June, let's say from Lagos to London Heathrow. And this time around, I want to specify an airline. We didn't specify an airline in the previous example we did. So I want to display for 20th of June from Lagos to London, Cross of Lorraine, ET. I'm using Ethiopia Airways this time around. So, and mind you, we said that we use Cross of Lorraine and the IATA code for the airline we want to specify. So here we have 120 June, Lagos, London Heathrow, Cross of Lorraine, ET, and we push the enter button. Okay, so we have a response here. We can see that we have several classes to book from. And okay, now I have a class that has another alphabet in front of it. Let me quickly explain this before we go ahead. Now, whenever you have a class such as this uniform class we have here on the first line, you know, we have Lima in front of it. That shows that we could waitlist this class. It is not presently available. At the airline's discretion, they could confirm the waitlisted class if it will be later available. But seeing an L in front of uniform class shows that the class of service could be waitlisted. That's a simple term of what that means. Then going forward, look at this Nancy class at the end, the lowest class available on this particular flight. Nancy class. There is a Charlie in front of it. What Charlie means in front of a class is the class is closed. You cannot book from that class. It is closed. Please don't forget that explanation. When you have a Lima in front of a class, that shows that you could waitlist the class. And when we have a Charlie in front of the class, it shows that the class is closed. But when you have a number, it shows the number of seats available. When you have 0, that means you have 0 seats available. You can as well book from it. And when you have numbers such as these ones we have here, 7, okay, we have 7 or 2 on these remaining classes. That means that there are 7 seats available that you can choose from or you can sell on that class. Okay. All right, so let's go forward. We want to sell from Lagos to London on the 20th of June. And what we have displayed is showing that we are going from Lagos to Addis Ababa first because we are selling on Ethiopian Airways. And Ethiopian Airways, you know, all airlines will definitely stop at their hubs first. I said earlier that we could go ahead for those of us that are new to the industry and you don't know what an hub is. I mean, Hotel Uniform Bravo. You can Google it and read further about airline hubs. Okay, so but mind you, all airlines will definitely go to their hubs first before proceeding to their destinations. Okay, so we have here 20th of June from Lagos to London Heathrow, which says that we'll first of all go to Addis Ababa from Lagos. Then we'll proceed from Addis Ababa to London Heathrow. And you can see a +1 here. That shows that it will cross to the next day. That's the meaning of that. And we can confirm that in the time of travel. Okay. All right. So for an example now, let's say we have displayed availability and we can see it here interpreted. And we want to go ahead to sell. So let's sell from Mike class. Mike is available here and it's also available on the second leg. Okay. How do we sell? The format to sell, the prefix is 0. Get that. Figure 0. The next thing to do is to put the number of seats we'll be selling. So I want to sell for one adult, one child, and one infant. Those are 3 passengers, but I'll be selling 2 seats because an infant passenger does not have a seat on the airline. An infant will be attached to an adult passenger. So we'll be selling 2 seats with respect to that. So I'll be putting 2 here. 0, figure 2. The next thing is the class of service, and we said we will be selling from, was it Mike? Okay, let's go ahead with Mike class. And the next thing to do is to select the line we are selling from. Now we'll be selling from the first line, but attaching the second line because it's a connecting flight. It has to go together. The 2 lines have to go together. So we'll be putting 1 there and an asterisk. If we remember from the earlier information we got, that to sell connecting flights, you use an asterisk. But to sell a direct flight, you don't use the asterisk. You only sell the line you want to sell. But here, we are selecting 2 lines together. So we'll put the first line, which is 1, and put an asterisk to connect to the next line. That is how to sell a connecting flight. So these 2 segments now are referred to as married segments. Segments 1 and 2, they are referred to as married segments because we have to sell them together. So enter and we wait to see response. Okay, now unlike the earlier example where we had UC as unconfirmed, now this is showing us SS, that is seed sold for 2, that's 2 sold, seed sold. That's what it's referring to. From the beginning of the line, we have ET, the device number, the class of service we sold, which is Mike, the date of travel, which is 20th June, Thursday, from Lagos to Addis Ababa. That's the first line. Still sold for 2, the departure time and arrival time. Then again, we have the second line, the class of service, we have the date, it's extended to this is the first, 1st of June, which is the Friday. From Addis Ababa, will be proceeding to London Metro, and seats sold to departure time at that time. That's what we have. I think we are good to go with the first leg of this. So for the second leg of the journey, let's say we want to do a return. Let's say we want to do a return, and there is a specific date. They are traveling on the 20th June. And let's say they want, for an example, they want to return the 30th of June. I gave the different formats to display return the other time. We'll make use of any of those formats, but I'll be making use of the second format I gave us, which is 1 return date of travel. That's 1 Romeo 30 June. Then we hit the enter button, displays availability for that date. And see that section, which is the song, it's just the same line that sold earlier. So we will sell the class of service that we sold for the first leg, which is for 2 people. The actual cost to sell is 0. The next thing is number of seats we are selling, 2 seats. The next thing is the class of service we are selling, which is, and the line we are selling from, which is line 1, connecting the second line. That's why we use an asterisk. So we have 0 to Mike 1 asterisk, and we push the enter button, and we have the rest already for the third and fourth segment, which is the return leg of our journey. And this is London back to Lagos. Okay, so let me put the itineraries together, the old legs, let me put them together next. I want to see how they look like. How do I put that? Asterisk India. Asterisk India. Asterisk India will display only itinerary. And that's what we've done so far. I've done only the itinerary. So I want to see the itinerary, just the itinerary alone. And it shows us from the beginning of the journey, because at this London, 20th of June, 21st of June. Then we have London to Addis and Addis Lagos on the 30th of June and 1st of July, respectively, just like we did. So I think we are going to go with itinerary field. So one of the 5 mandatory fields is completed. We can go to, like I mentioned the other time from the beginning of the class, that don't do the first leg fair, then do the second leg and be fair. No, that's system mapping. You don't do that. It is not limited and line will not adapt to make mistake. First before the price. So price because Mike has price the current itinerary which is whiskey papa. Price is whiskey papa, and that shows the base fare, the equivalent amount in Naira, where Nigeria, in respective countries, show the equivalent amount in the is and the taxes added together. Then we have the fare for 1 hour. We have okay, we have booked. We haven't entered names, so we can't see the different fares for adults and infants and child. All right, so let's just go on. Well, definitely to price. In further trainings, we'll be talking about strictly talking about to fare and the different methods, the different patterns and fare. Okay, so but for this class, I just needed to show us that we can show the price after completing the itinerary. Okay, so moving forward, I will next do the name field. Let's go on to the names fields. We have one adult, child, and one fan in this itinerary done. Okay, all right. So to enter adult name that we did, to enter the adult name is for an example. We have by the surname, there is slash, the first name, then it's space, the other name. Okay, so this is the proper adult name we want to use for the sake of this string, and you press the button. Okay, let's go on to enter a child name, just like we did for the adult name, and as well for the child name. But mind you, adult name has just a single line of code, but the child has 3 different steps. Then the name, the message, the airline, message Sabre system. All right, so let's start with the name. Let's say morning, the first name, and the that's the first line to enter an adult name. The next thing to do is the airline. That's now we are not making use of the American airline. If we're making use of American airline, we'll be using 4 as our action code. But now this is not an American airline, so we'll be using 3 for our action. And the message to the airline is CHLD. This second passenger name that entered will be on 2.1 definitely. The first one we entered definitely be on 1.1, and this second one we just entered will be on 2.2. So we have 3 the iPhone 2.1, and we hit the air button. That's the second level of the format we are in. Then the third one we enter for the name is the message to Sabre system, which is PPTCNN, and referring to the same line number, which is 1, and the enter button. We have done 3 things. to enter a child's name. We entered the name, entered a message to declare life, and we entered a message to them. Those are the three steps to enter a child's name. All right, so let's go to an infant name now. The first thing to do also for infant name is hyphen, but it's slightly different from the other names. We'll be including an India to show that this is an infant. We have hyphen India, a forward slash, then the first name. Let's say they all have the same one. The first name first, then a slash again, then the name and space other name. This is the way to enter an infant name. Please, it's a big difference from when we entered an adult and a child name. There is an in there after the hyphen. Don't where you are entering the names format. Okay, so we said there are two levels to do for infant name. This is the first one here. You read the enter key, and the second thing is send a message to the NI system that this passenger that I entered is an infant, and I'll be attaching this infant to an adult passenger. All right, so that's the information we want to pass to the line. I'll do that. 3 NFT to show that this is an infant slash and the name just the exact way we entered the names here. Then another slash, the date of this child. Let's say the infant was born on 30th September 2023. So don't forget, format for date is 232. That is figures for the day, 3 alphabet for the month, 2 figures for the year. Don't forget that. And after that, we'll be doing an hyphen, the adult passenger's name number, and I'm sure that the adult passenger is on line 1.1 because I entered the name first. So we'll be putting 1.1 and the system marks for us. Now, I want to put all these. I want to display only names. How did we display only itinerary the other? We did asterisk India. How do we display only name? We do asterisk Nancy. Display only names. So we have passenger 1.1, the adult, the passenger 2.1, the child, and the passenger 3.1, the infant. Now, how can I be sure that all these passengers have respective passenger data types? We can check with the passenger data and enter. PD, Papa Delta will show us passenger details. That is the name line number and kind of passengers there. So for example, look at 8.1, which is the last name we entered, is an infant and is showing infant. If you 2.1, which is in the is doing child dancing, and that's the child. And you look at 1.1, that's an adult. So I think we have entered the names correctly. All the 3 names have been entered correctly, and don't show that. So we can go on. Now, down to things from the fields. The first one is itinerary. The second one is the names field. So put the other reservation. So that was depend. Have the phone field. What do we do again? 9 followed by a phone number, and you hit the enter and you mark it with a white asterisk. Then let's do the receipt phone field. That's the reference. How do we do that? 6 is the action code followed by the reservation officer's name. You hit the enter key. Those are missing the ticket limits. All right, so let's use it. Let's say 4 p.m. a forward slash, then they want this reservation cancelled if we are going to be issuing it. Let's say, and you don't mind it has to be before the travel, and the travel date here is I think 20th of June. So please, your ticket time date has to be ever before the travel date. Okay, so let's just use 30th of March like we did in the first example. 30 we hit the enter key, and it also has to be white as with all of this we entered. I'm sure that we've been able to enter all 5 mandatory fields, and the next thing to do about this is to end our reservation. So how do we end the reservation? We do ER. Okay, so for the fact that we had a proper itinerary, which we had seats sold instead of unconfirmed seats. So this is ending, and we have a Sabre reference generated for us already at the first line of the response. You can see that the reference generated there is Romeo Echo Father Oscar Delta Yankee. So if you want to reference this particular reservation on Sabre GDS, this is the reference you will make use of. Or probably you want to retrieve at a later time, maybe you have shut down your system, or you want to retrieve from another system on Sabre GDS, definitely you have to be able to access this particular reference from that system you are getting it from. Okay, so this is the code you'll be using to do that. Now look at this space we have here. This is a space meant for the airline reference. It's not there here. I mentioned the other time that to do India Romeo, excuse me, until you ignore and retrieve, then you will get the airline reference. And done that, and you can see that we have airline reference on our reservation. Let's compare the two together. You see, when we did ER, we didn't have an airline reference. And after we did IR, we have an airline reference. So we have the Sabre reference as well. Okay, so far, we've been able to cover a simple way of doing a reservation on the Sabre, using the Sabre GDS. And like we said last time, that if we have questions, if we have anything we do not understand and we wish to talk about, we can always come on the chat panel to drop our questions, and we'll have responsive people, staffs to quickly respond to all our questions. And once again, I want to appreciate for listening all through this class. So we still have a whole lot of that things that we need to talk about, but we have splitted this class into several modules, and we won't be exhausting anything in just one class. So we'll be hanging the books here for today. Thank you once again for listening. We appreciate your patience so far.